Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Rader's next victim would be sometime around the holidays of 1977, where he would find 25-year-old Nancy Jo Fox. He would do as he had done many times before, where he would begin stalking Nancy, finding out where she lived, and just getting a layout of her home. And just like his other victims, he would give Nancy a code name, and he would give her the code name Project Fox Hunt. I guess as a way he found that to be funny or charming in some way, but it just more or less add to just how deplorable and disgusting he actually was. On December 8th, 1977, he would do as he had done before and try to break through the back door. But he would quickly realize that Nancy was not home at that time currently, and would return back when Nancy would return home. When she did return home, it's there that Dennis Rader would actually knock on the door, and Nancy would answer it. And it's around this time that when Rader was telling what his plans were, it's around there that Nancy would begin screaming at Rader and telling him to leave her property or she was going to call the police. To where Rader would actually inform Nancy that he had actually cut the power lines and she would not be very successful in calling the police. After telling Nancy this, it is there that Rader would inform Nancy that his intention was to restrain her, tie her down, take photographs of her, and rape her. Upon telling Nancy this, he would actually allow her to smoke a cigarette after informing her of his dark intentions. Nancy would then ask Rader, "Do you really have to tie me up?" To which Rader would respond, "Yes." And it's there that Nancy would tell Rader, "You're a sick man." To which Rader would respond, "Yeah, I'm sick, ma'am, but that's the way it's got to be." According to Rader, it's around this time that he would allow her to go to the bathroom to get undressed, under the premise that he could stick a shoe or a cloth underneath the bathroom door so she could not slam the door or latch it locked. Rader would also say that she would come out of the bathroom in a sweatshirt with her underpants and bra, but would add, "I'm not sure if she had nylons on or not." Rader would begin undressing Nancy, and if things were not uncomfortable and disgusting enough, he would, as he was undressing her, he would look at her and whisper in her ear, "Has your boyfriend ever screwed you in the butt?" To which she would tell him no. He would then proceed to try to take off her sweater, to where Nancy would tell him, "Don't do that, don't do that." Rader would then attempt to try to put the handcuffs onto Nancy, to which she would protest and say, "Do you really have to put these on?" To which Rader would inform her, "It's my deal. I have to have these on or it won't work." He would handcuff her to the bed and then crawl on top of her, taking his belt off, and would wrap it around her neck and would take turns loosening and tightening it. He would do this to the point of taking Nancy to the point of unconsciousness and then loosening it to bring her back. After doing this, it's around this time that Rader would begin asphyxiating Nancy with the intent of unaliving her. He would later recall and say that while he was doing this, he would whisper in her ear that he was the BTK unaliver and that he was a bad guy. It should be noted that he hadn't gone at the name as BTK at that point, and he would be the one to come up with that name. He would also recall that it's around this time that she began to squirm a lot, and when she would begin squirming, he would really start putting the pressure down. He would release a little bit of information that Nancy did fight for her life while he tried to asphyxiate her, and that during this time she would actually take her hand and try to reach down and grab him by his grapefruits, to which Rader would respond by saying it made him more excited. After unaliving Nancy, he would go home, and the following day he would actually go to a payphone and call the police and inform them about Nancy's demise and where they would find her body. Because unaliving these victims was not enough for Dennis Rader, he had to up the ante and try to play cat and mouse with not only the police, but a news station. More specifically, KAKE News. where he would send a letter informing the news station who he was. On February 10th, 1978, Dennis Rader would send another letter to the Wichita news station. He would prove who he was by giving very descriptive details about each and every murder that had happened within the last couple of years. On top of that, he would also give demands about what he wanted the news station and the police to refer to him as. Of all the many names that he went by, BTK happened to be one of them, which would be abbreviations for bind, torture, and schmill. He would also demand more attention, as I said before, and in this note he would say, how many people do I have to unalive before I get more media coverage? Besides the note, there would be a poem with this letter entitled Oh Schmeth to Nancy, which would be a parody that he would create from the American folk song Oh Schmeth. In this letter, Rader would say that he was driven by Factor X and would characterize that this was the same factor that had driven Jack the Ripper, the Hillside Stranglers, and the Son of Sam to unalive the people that they had. This is during the 70s when the Son of Sam and the Hillside Stranglers were very strong during their murders, so it's very apparent that he was using these names as inspiration for what he was doing, in a very sick way of trying to connect himself to these other serial schmillers. It's also at this time that Dennis Rader would also inform the news station to inform the police that he demanded for a subliminal message to be sent over the news station so that he knew that the police were listening to what he was saying and that they wanted them to know he watched that news station regularly. The police would actually entertain Rader's egotistical demands, and on that very night, the police would have a subliminal message for Dennis Rader. And during the section of the premiering of that news station, the screen would flash, and as the screen would flash, the screen would show a picture of upside down glasses. And on top of them would say, "Now call the chief." The police had thought that if they did this, this would be more of a reason for Dennis Rader or the BTK Schmiller to call the police to turn himself in. But they would quickly find out that he was just toying with them, and this was just very unsuccessful. Around August of 1979, Dennis Rader would actually plan to unalive another victim, and this would be 63-year-old Anna Williams. He would do as he had done before with the other victims, where he would begin stalking her and just getting a layout of her house and just planning out the night that he would actually intend to unalive her. And on the particular night that he had planned to do everything, he would do everything he had done before. He would break in through the back of the house, and he would do everything as a way to wait for Anna Williams for her to return home. It's there that Dennis Rader would wait for Anna Williams to return home and would actually spend multiple hours there waiting for her to return, to which she would not return. Anna would be really lucky because at this particular day, she was actually out visiting with some friends and had been out longer than she had planned on intending being. And being that she was out so late, Rader would eventually completely become obsessed and livid and leave the house. He would later recall in a confession that he was completely livid over the fact that she had evaded him. However, even though Anna Williams would be very lucky in evading Dennis Rader, the next person would not be as lucky as she. As Dennis Rader was becoming more and more bold with his unaliving and his murders that he was doing within the Wichita area. And he would focus all of his attentions on not only someone that lived nearby, this would be someone that was actually a neighbor of Dennis Rader and his family. This person would not only be neighbor, but 53-year-old Marinee Hedge.